Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Our mission, as always, is to cut through the noise and find the signal. And wow, this week, October 13th to 17th, AWS dropped a lot of noise. 42 announcements in just 5 days.
Yeah, it was quite a week, but we've dug through it for you, our technical listeners, and we see really three big themes emerging. Huge steps in performance, making data architectures way simpler, especially for analytics, and then really automating governance and developer workflows.
Okay.
So we've pulled out the key updates across compute, data, AI, and security and networking for you.
All right, let's dive straight in then. First up, compute power and capacity management. Seems like the big story here is getting better visibility and, maybe more importantly, control over costs. And the first one, EC2 Capacity Manager hitting general availability, that feels like something people have been asking for, right? Like a single place to see all your reservations.
That's exactly it. The problem was always that you had on-demand here, spot there, capacity reservations maybe in another account or region.
Yeah.
It was scattered. So Capacity Manager brings it all together. One interface. You can monitor, you can analyze your past usage, and manage those reservations all from one spot.
So it's less about just launching instances and more about the operational side, making sure you're actually using the capacity you're paying for.
Yep.
Or not getting caught short somewhere.
Precisely. It helps you make informed decisions using actual data. It points out where you might be over-provisioned or underutilized. And the best part, it's built right into the EC2 console, no extra charge. This should be, well, standard practice for anyone trying to optimize their spend.
Okay, speaking of optimizing, Graviton 4.
Mhm.
The momentum just keeps building, doesn't it? Lots of updates this week on expansion and integrations. What's the headline performance number we should remember?
It's still that up to 30% better performance compared to Graviton 3, which, directly means either lower costs or you can run more on the same instance size.
Right.
But this wave seems more about applying that efficiency to specific demanding workloads.
Okay, so where does that 30% really make a difference based on this week's news?
Well, a huge one is for analytics folks. Amazon OpenSearch Service now supports Graviton 4 instances. We're talking CAG, MAG, RAG, RAGD. Better latency, lower cost for your indexing and searching. That's big.
Yeah.
And then look at the memory-optimized ones. The RAG instances are expanding. These are beasts for databases, up to 1.5 terabytes of memory. And AWS says they're up to 40% faster for database workloads. So if you run big relational databases, RAG availability is spreading.
And what about the network-heavy stuff? HPC, maybe complex load balancing?
Yeah, that's where the CAGM instances come in the end for network optimized. They're expanding too, and the big news is up to 600 gigabits per second networking, plus Elastic Fabric Adapter, EFA, support on the really big ones like the 48 large and the metal instances. That's key for anything needing super high throughput and low latency.
Got it. Okay, let's pivot to something that sounds like immediate cache savings. Optimizing CPUs for license-included instances. This feels like a big deal for anyone running Windows or SQL Server.
Oh, I totally agree. This is finding budget you didn't know you had, potentially. If you're paying for those pricey vCPU-based licenses, AWS now lets you basically turn down the number of vCPUs or disable hyperthreading on those specific license-included instances.
So wait, if I need a lot of memory, say for a database, but it's not actually hitting the CPU hard,
Yeah.
I can just dial back the vCPUs and cut my Microsoft license cost without losing the memory or IOPS.
Exactly right. Take their example, an R7 i.8x large, normally 32 vCPUs, but maybe you only need its 256 gigs of RAM, 40,000 IOPS. You don't need all 32 cores hammering away. Now you can say, okay, just give me 16 vCPUs. Boom, 50% off your vCPU license cost right there. Memory stays, IOPS stays.
50%, just like that. Wow. Okay, quickly then, the high-performance computing update for HPC users.
Yeah, AWS Parallel Computing Service, or PCS, now supports Slurm version 25.05. The key thing for admins is probably the enhanced multi-cluster SACT configuration. SACT is the scheduler daemon. This change means one login node can manage multiple Slurm clusters without needing a restart every time you tweak the config. Much simpler for big environments. And better requeue behavior, too, so jobs are more resilient if there's a temporary capacity shortage.
Okay. That focus on efficiency naturally leads us into data. And the big theme here seems to be just ripping out complexity. The whole zero ETL movement, right? Getting rid of extract, transform, load.
Yeah, zero ETL is really gathering steam. The newest one that jumped out at me was Aurora PostgreSQL integrating with SageMaker, zero ETL style.
Okay, so my live production database data just appears in my machine learning environment.
Yeah.
Near real time.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It lands in your lakehouse environment, ready for ML training or quick analytics. And the crucial bit,
What's that?
the data synced is compatible with Apache Iceberg, which is, the standard now for reliable lakehouse tables. It means SageMaker, EMR, Redshift, whatever tools you use can work with that fresh data immediately. No manual steps needed to transform or catalog it.
And for people using Redshift more traditionally, the regional expansion matters too, right? For keeping data in specific places.
Absolutely. Those zero ETL integrations from RDS, so Oracle, MySQL, PostgreSQL into Redshift, are now live in 8 more regions. Think Zurich, Tel Aviv, Melbourne. If you have data residency rules in those spots, you can now point Redshift directly at your RDS data without complex pipelines or moving data out of the region.
Nice. Okay, shifting to time series and streaming data. Amazon TimeStream got a pretty major update.
Yeah, TimeStream for InfluxDB now supports InfluxDB version 3. This isn't just a version bump. It's a whole new engine underneath. Built on Apache Arrow, uses columnar parquet files in S3.
Okay, so what does that mean for me, the user?
Bottom line, much better query performance, better scale, especially if you have data with lots of unique labels or tags, high cardinality, and you still get that effectively unlimited S3 storage backing it.
And for Kafka users on MSK, version 4.1 support.
Yeah, the big preview feature in MSK 4.1 is called queues. This lets multiple consumers pull messages from the same partition. That's a potential game changer for throughput if you're processing high-volume streams. Plus some other goodies like a new rebalance protocol and eligible leader replicas being on by default for better availability.
And staying on streaming, but thinking about reliability. Kinesis and fault injection service.
Right. Kinesis Data Streams now works with FIS. This is huge for testing resilience. Instead of just hoping your error handling and retry logic works.
You can actually break it on purpose.
Exactly. You can inject controlled Kinesis API errors, throttling, internal server errors, that kind of thing, and prove that your application handles it gracefully. Prove your alarms go off, all before it happens for real in production.
That's smart. Lastly, in this section, speed and storage. EBS volume clones went GA. Sounds like it tackles a common dev test bottleneck.
It really does. You can now create point-in-time copies of your EBS volumes almost instantly. Single-digit millisecond latency to access the clone within the same availability zone.
So making copies of big production databases for testing environments, that just got way faster.
Way faster. If your developers are sitting around waiting for data volumes to copy, that wait time could essentially vanish. Huge productivity boost for dev and test cycles.
All right, moving into AI and ML. The theme here feels like accessibility, making it easier for developers to just use these powerful models. Bedrock seems central to that.
Yeah, Bedrock is really positioning itself as the go-to AI layer. The big change is that most of the serverless foundation models are now enabled by default.
Oh, okay, so less clicking around in the console to get access.
Exactly. You can basically just jump in and start building prototypes much faster. Cuts down that time from idea to trying something out. The only real exception noted was Anthropic's models still need a one-time usage form for those, but you can do it once for the whole organization.
Gotcha. And a big new model arrival, Claude 4.5 Haiku. Where does this fit in the Claude lineup? Sonnet, Opus, now Haiku.
Think of Haiku as hitting a sweet spot. It's designed to give you performance that's really close to the top-tier models. They're saying it matches Sonnet 4 on things like coding and agent tasks.
But cheaper and faster.
Exactly. Substantially lower cost, much faster response times. And critically, it includes vision capabilities. So it makes really advanced AI, including image understanding, much more practical for high-volume uses, like maybe real-time customer support bots.
Okay, that makes sense. We also saw more models like DeepSeek, OpenAI's OpenWeights, Qwen 3 expanding regionally, still about latency and data residency.
Absolutely. Getting these models into regions like US East Ohio or Frankfurt in Europe is crucial for customers who need that low latency or have strict rules about where their data gets processed.
Right. Switching to tooling, Amazon Q is popping up everywhere. Now it's helping debug step functions.
Yeah, this is pretty neat for anyone running state machines. The Step Functions console has a new Diagnose with Amazon Q button if an execution fails instead of manually trawling through logs.
Q gives you hints.
Pretty much. It gives you AI-powered suggestions about what went wrong, whether it's an execution issue or maybe just a syntax error in your Amazon state's language definition. And it suggests fixes, too. Could save a lot of debugging time.
Definitely useful. On the serverless and container front, couple of updates making local dev and observability easier. First, the SAM CLI.
Yeah, SAM CLI now supports Finch as an alternative to Docker for running things locally. If you don't have Docker installed or running, SAM CLI will just find Finch if it's there and use that instead. just more flexibility for developers.
Okay, but maybe the bigger news for container folks is FluentBit 3.0.0. Native OpenTelemetry support sounds significant.
Oh, it's huge for observability setups. AWS for FluentBit version 3 now has native support for OTLP, the OpenTelemetry protocol,
Meaning?
meaning you can send logs, metrics, and traces using the standard OTLP format directly from FluentBit with AWS authentication baked in. You don't need extra sidecar containers just to collect and forward telemetry data anymore.
So simplifying the architecture. Fewer moving parts in the pod.
Exactly. Less resource usage, simpler deployment, better performance potentially. It's a big step towards standardizing on OTel.
And a quick but important security tweak for ECS and Firelines.
Yep. You can now run Firelands log routing containers as a non-root user. You just specify a user ID in the task definition. It's a basic security best practice. Least privilege reduces the attack surface. Helps tick those compliance boxes too.
Okay, final segment. Governance, security, and networking. Seems like the focus here is on locking things down and automating control, starting with Security Hub and compliance.
Right. Security Hub's posture management feature, CSPM, now supports the CIS AWS Foundations Benchmark version 5.0. That adds about 40 new automated checks looking for security best practices in your configuration.
So important for regulated industries to adopt V5.
Definitely. And AWS recommends using central configuration in Security Hub to roll out these checks across your whole organization quickly.
Makes sense. And CloudWatch Database Insights got smarter about permissions.
Yeah, this tackles a common annoyance. Managing IAM permissions for who can see database performance metrics used to be kind of manual. Now, Database Insights supports tag-based access control.
So just uses the tags I already have on my RDS instances.
Exactly. It automatically uses those instance tags for authorization. So your existing tagging strategy enforces who can see performance data. Much cleaner, less policy fiddling.
Okay, now for a potentially big one for architects. Application Load Balancer getting URL and host header rewrite capabilities.
Yeah, this is interesting. The ALB can now actually change the URL path or the host header in a request before it sends it to your backend targets. And it uses regular expressions, regex, to do the matching and rewriting.
Okay, so instead of having, say, an Nginx proxy handle that rewrite logic,
Yeah.
the ALB does it. Isn't that just shifting the complexity? Managing rejects in the ALB sounds potentially tricky too.
It is shifting the logic, yes, but the payoff is potentially eliminating that separate proxy layer entirely. You don't need to run and manage those Nginx instances or containers just for simple rewrites anymore. You consolidate that function into the Managed Load Balancer service, which scales automatically and is highly available. So it's about reducing your infrastructure footprint and operational overhead, especially if you have a complex microservices setup behind one entry point.
Got it. Trading compute and management for configuration in a managed service. Okay, let's wrap up with a few hybrid and networking reach updates.
Sure. Route 53 Profiles now supports AWS Private Link. Means you can manage your private DNS settings securely over the AWS network, not the public internet.
Okay.
For hybrid setups, AWS Transfer Family, the managed SFTP FTP service, its SFTP connectors, can now connect to servers inside your VPC.
Oh, so I can securely transfer files to an SFTP server running on-prem, connected via Direct Connect or VPN, or even just running on an EC2 instance in a private subnet.
Exactly. You can leverage your VPC security groups, network ACLs, maybe use a NAT gateway for a stag IP. Makes connecting to private SFTP endpoints much easier and more secure.
And quickly, Global Accelerator expansion and Outposts.
Yeah, Global Accelerator added endpoints in the Thailand and Taipei regions, and the newer second-gen Outpost racks are now supported in the Ireland region, giving more options there for low latency or data residency needs.
Okay, so if we pull way back and look at the whole week, the big currents are definitely Graviton 4 driving performance, zero ETL simplifying data flow, and this deep integration of automation and governance into everything.
I think that's spot on. The overarching trend really is operational simplification. AWS is taking on more of the operational burden. Capacity Manager, native OTLP, and FluentBit, ALB rewrites, they're all automating or simplifying tasks that developers and ops teams used to have to build or manage themselves. It's about making it easier to scale reliably, especially in complex or regulated environments.
So what? For everyone listening, what's the immediate takeaway thought?
I think, given especially things like the ALB URL rewrite and native OTel support in FluentBit 3, you really need to look at your current setup. Ask yourself, How much custom automation do we have right now? Maybe custom proxy layers, maybe logging sidecars we built and managed that is now potentially redundant because of these new native AWS features.
Right.
What's the actual cost in terms of money and complexity that you could save by migrating off your custom solution and onto these managed services? Could be significant.
That's a really good question to ponder. Definitely some potential spring cleaning or maybe fall cleaning for infrastructure teams. We'll leave you with that thought. Thanks for tuning into the deep dive.